Good morning everyone, I'm Daniel and you're watching Snapshots of Australia's Past, which is a documentary series highlighting the highs and lows of our national history that has evolved Australia to what it is today. This episode of Snapshots of Australia's Past is about Bradman, Bodyline and the Great Depression.
The Great Depression was from 1929 to 1939 and is the worst economic crisis in world history today. This financial crisis influenced the social and political aspects of world history forever. Australia was largely affected by the economic downfall during this time as unemployment increased to 12% before the supposed start of the Great Depression during the Wall Street collapse.
This caused the Australian people during the Great Depression to suffer severely. Without work and a steady income, many people lost their homes and were forced to live in makeshift dwellings with poor heating and sanitation. Many working-class children were consistently leaving school at the age of 13 or 14 as they had to start working. The Great Depression was a very tough time to live in, and people were forced into all sorts of tricks and expendices to survive.
These drastic economic conditions also put the Australian government into a difficult situation, and the population of the nation also lost faith in the powerless governor. James Scullin and the ALP led from the 22nd of October 1929 to the 6th of January 1932, with the Wall Street collapse occurring only a week after he stepped into power. James Scullin from the ALP was voted Prime Minister after promising employment. This turned to be a bad decision from the citizens of Australia, as over 7,000 people were left jobless.
The displeased majority of Australia voted against Scullin in the next election and voted for Joseph Lyons. Lyons ran a stable government during a difficult time and pulled Australia out of the Great Depression and into a new era. As well as Joseph Lyons, one man inspired the whole country to think for a bright and better future. He gave them happiness through a team captaincy and individual brilliance. This man was Donald Bradman.
Donald George Bradman was born in the West New South Wales town of Cootamundra on the 27th of August 1908, fifth child of Emily and George Bradman. Don and his family moved to the cooler climate of Bowral 3 years after his birth. Bowral became the spiritual home of Donald Bradman and turned into his adopted birthplace. In 1914, Donald Bradman started schooling at Bowral Intermediate School and was taught by Mr. Jones. So, Mr. Jones, how did Donald do at school?
Well, Donald didn't do very well at school, but he was very good at sport and spent most of his time playing cricket, tennis and rugby.
Do you know what Donald did with his spare time outside of school?
Donald spent most of his time practicing cricket by hitting a golf ball against a tank with a small stump. He probably didn't realise this, but this invention was obviously useful to him as it taught him quick movement and precision. He said to me years later that it never entered his mind that he was probably training his eyesight and coordinating his movement.
Do you know how Donald and his wife Jessie met?
Well, Donald and Jessie actually met at school, and she used to stay with the Bradman family a lot. They remained strong friends for many years and married on the 30th of April 1932. They had 2 children, John and Shirley. Donald and Jessie's marriage remained strong until Jessie died of cancer in 1997. Donald regarded this as the greatest partnership of his life.
Donald Bradman was not only a great cricketer, but also a great person, and this is why the Australian population loved him. He was a renowned sportsman who pleased the fans with his on-field heroics and off-field friendly personality. This brightened the lives of the Australian people during the Great Depression and raised their spirits.
Donald Bradman is the best batsman to ever play cricket for Australia and is the player with the highest average in Test cricket. He stormed onto the international scene after only playing a handful of Sheffield Shield matches. With an outstanding run tally of 500 runs within the first 4 Ashes tests, Bradman's remarkable start to his career got even better, with his record-breaking debut overseas tour, producing close to 1,000 runs in 5 testers against another class English side. After merely 10 tests, the population of Australia was reliant on Donald Bradman to produce big scores.
After staring down at a third consecutive Ashes series loss to the Aussies, the MCC and the England captain devised a tactic to belittle Donald Bradman's explosive stroke play called bodyline or fast leg theory. Let's take a look.
In his first innings of facing bodyline, Donald Bradman was bowled for a duck off his first ball, and the demons of bodyline were already haunting the Australian players and fans. But in the rest of the series, Donald Bradman showed courage above his years, consolidating a total of 350 runs at an average of 56.57. Bradman conquered bodyline by inventing new shots to combat the pro leg side field. After bodyline's effectiveness diminished, Douglas Jardine was forced to move his field to a normal setting. Donald Bradman's achievements during the bodyline series were inspirational and gave the depression-living Australian people something to be happy about.
Donald Bradman was a man of unbelievable skill and talent cricket-wise. He had the balanced life of an average person. Bradman was just an Aussie living the dream of playing for his country, but, unlike some sports people, he used it for the greater good of Australia. He has become an Australian icon by the way he portrayed himself on and off the field, and how he lifted the spirits of people living lives you could not imagine, and how bad they were. His achievements, not only during the bodyline series, but generally in life, have cemented him in a place as an Australian icon forever. He is more than just a cricketer, he is our Donald Bradman.